In this video, I'll explore Firefly Boards from Adobe. So Firefly Boards allows us to craft mood boards and explore and visualize ideas. It brands itself as having a kind of generative AI first approach to mood board making, and it includes tools to easily generate images and remix ideas, as well as add your own stylistic references. You can start by uploading your own files, which I want to do here, including images or sketches. And then you can search within the tool from Adobe Stock to easily add new content from Adobe Stock. So it integrates if you have an Adobe Stock account and credits. But you can also generate new images via prompts. There's also tools for creating color swatches and exploring typography. Let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and create a new mood board here. So once I do that, you can drag and drop some content. I'm going to start with some image research that I did at Unsplash and simply drop them onto the board. Looks like I had one poor format item. All those images start to load into the board, and one of the things that you can do is actually arrange them. So that's kind of cool. You can collect the items, but also sort of arrange them. So I'm going to have them arranged into a mosaic. I'll zoom out on the board. As we can see here, it's sort of moving, and let me get in here and kind of move around and zoom out. So Control plus and Control minus work. There's also a sort of zoom element right here where you can zoom in and out or fit all the content to the board. So here's a bunch of stylistic references that I brought in thinking they might work. I was referencing architecture, construction, business, these kinds of things, and trying to get a collection of images that might be unique to that. I like how neatly it puts together this photo mosaic, and if I'm starting with these photos, I could actually search for some further information. You'll notice that you can create variants and edit, convert files here. You can do some things like remove background and cropping your imagery, downloading them. But one of the things that I'm interested in is if I want to use this, I can open it directly in Photoshop, for example, but it's this idea of finding similar inspiration where you can take one photo and use that to find other inspiration, and that will pull from Adobe Stock based on that particular photo. So if I was looking for construction cranes and those kinds of things as a potential element, I could do that, and I could grab one of these and sort of add it onto my board as well. You can scale these around, and maybe I select all of this stuff and decide that I want to rearrange this into a mosaic and include that, and it will kind of readjust everything into this. And I actually have this ability to pull things apart, so how you want to arrange your board is pretty nice and quick. Of course, we can also generate new images, and so we'd be able to do that based on references as well. I'm going to hit the generate image option where we can create a new image just describing what we want to create, or what you could do is sample from the canvas. So I could actually sample from a particular image and use that as a stylistic reference, and then I'll say I want to have a skyscraper, and I'll generate. It can take a second, and certainly it might use your AI credits from Adobe, but sometimes the results are pretty impressive. Also, by the way, we could have used a different model for our development. So there's all kinds of different models here, and I'm right now using Gemini 3.1 with Nano Banana. And so it's now generated this skyscraper under construction, and I'd be able to pull that out and put it onto my boards as well. One of the things that's kind of cool here is the ability to remix imagery as well. So if I like a couple of different styles of images, you can actually select two of them and have a little remix tool. So right here I could say, okay, I liked these two images, let me hit a remix, and we'll see kind of what happens with its variations here. So now it's taking those two images and remixing them. It just concluded, so let's take a look at what it has generated here. So all of these are a little bit small at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and scale them up. so we can see what they are. These were sort of all generated by Firefly, and they were kind of based on those images. So let's zoom in and see what they were generating. We've got all these sort of generated images that were based on the couple different images that I had originally selected. So it's a way that we could iterate pretty quickly by remixing our imagery or generating new images inside of Firefly Boards. Another thing that we can do is actually create color palettes and typography, as well as like shapes and all this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a rectangle shape and I'll draw out just a little square here, and then I can choose a color for that to sort of turn this into a color palette. So I'll select a color and I can be specific in kind of what color I want by adding in a custom color and potentially copying in like a hexadecimal code for that color. So I'm going to do that and paste in a color. Or type in a color. Let's see, F597A. Here's a color that I was kind of interested in, this blue. So I'm going to use that blue color and apply that back here, so that we use that particular color. Let's see, what was that? It was 1F597A, and use that particular color. Oh, I see what happened to my pasted content. It actually pasted it in as some text right here. So that's what color that was. I am able to copy and paste that square again and maybe choose a different color that I might want here to explore. So I can come on here, potentially explore varying colors. Although the color tools do seem a little bit limited in here, but you can add your own colors to this mood board. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and make this one, let's see, C66199. And so that particular color, and I could, copy that and paste that color in. There it is. And then I want to make that color, and I actually want to sample it from here. Okay, so I guess to sample, I have to click on color, click on the color sampler, and then I should be able to sample. There we go, and sample that back out. Okay, so what I could do is certainly, get a palette of colors together. I could also explore typography, so you can add your own text here. I've been exploring this for a fictional company called iPoint Advisors. Maybe I want to look at some different fonts for a logo and that kind of thing. So I could play around with some of the different fonts that are in my system here or installed, and so there's all kinds of stuff that I might sort of play around with to try this out, see what the different sort of font styles are that are a part of this, and I could adjust this out, get a mood board together for this content. Now, one of the things that I might want to do now is actually create my own sort of artboard for this. So I'm going to go ahead and create an artboard and formalize some of these elements. Let me sort of move this over a little bit, and then I'll draw out an artboard. So I'll have a little artboard for my mood board, and I can size this based on some size that I want to use. This is really a large size at the moment, so I'll go ahead and make that 4,000 by 3,000. So pretty big canvas that I could work with, and then what I could do is pull in some of these elements onto that canvas. So I could grab this, drop it onto the canvas. Maybe I want this to be reflective of one of the colors that I was working with, so I'm going to go ahead and use that color sampler and sample that out, and then put that in here somewhere. I might scale this down as well, so real easy to like scale the text down. I can pop in some of the different colors that I was playing with, and then maybe some of the different image ideas that I had. So I like this image right here. What I could do is just grab and pull that into my canvas, enlarge that up, and start building out a bit of my own mood board here by pulling some of my reference images and sort of dropping them in. So I can create this. I can have little text labels within here. This would be one way that I might explore mood boarding with some AI generation as part of it. And then this artboard could be downloaded or exported in that case, right? So I could go ahead and click to download that particular file. It comes out as an image, a JPEG image. I'd be able to sort of use that as a way of exploring mood boarding. Let me pull a couple other images on here, and even if they're not quite the size that I want, maybe I have just like a few more ideas. One of the things I could do is take all of this content and do an arrangement. So I might say, hey, be in a mosaic, and some of the different elements could all kind of come together to give me that mosaic. Or instead of that, I might undo and only choose the images for that. And I could say, okay, let's align them in columns, or let's align them, in rows or whatever. But then I'd be able to adjust this size and sort of easily kind of adjust this. I really like some of the ways that it works with images and how you can easily kind of arrange your images in that case. I think the color tools and some of the font tools are more limited in terms of mood boarding. Maybe it will get better, but this ability to generate content right within the space and explore ideas, particularly for sort of applying stylistic references and remixing ideas, that's pretty interesting. So have fun on your own exploring Firefly for mood board and idea generation.